Hello, my name is Michelle McCormack, and I'm a Spanish teacher at Haverford High School in Havertown, Pennsylvania. Considering that I work in a one-to-one Chromebook school, I'm always looking for new ways to integrate technology into my lessons. I actively utilize Google Classroom to post class resources and assignments. And one of my favorite uses of technology in the world language classroom is Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a great way to practice speaking and listening because students can record a video speaking in Spanish, view the submissions of their classmates, and then respond to one another through a video clip. Although technology can greatly enhance our daily activities in the classroom, it's extremely important for teachers to be educated on the importance of safety procedures when using devices in the classroom. The first thing that teachers should focus on is cell phone safety in general. I chose to discuss cell phone tips for teens because we sometimes assume that everyone already knows the proper cell phone etiquette. Unfortunately, that is not the case, as many teens are too young and naive to understand the dangers associated with their cell phones. That is why it is essential for educators to overview the basics. According to Cell Phone Safety 10 Tips for Teens, students should know to keep their cell phone keypads locked, to not take any cell phone pictures or videos that may be somewhat sexual, which is not only illegal, but can end up spreading to many other people. And they should know that having a cell phone is a privilege and not a right, therefore should be appreciated and used with care. Saying the wrong thing on social media can even have legal ramifications that could have a negative effect on their futures. It's important to not send or capture anything on their phones that they would not feel comfortable sharing with their parents. Students should know that all text, photos, and videos created with their phones can be found as digital evidence, even years down the road, even if you've deleted them, which many students do not realize. Schools can take a student's phone when they have reasonable suspicion that it has violated school policy or the law, and they should request that a parent is there when they hand it over. Students must also know never to text and drive, and that no text is worth someone's life. They should only give out their number to someone that they know they can trust. They should ask themselves how they would feel if their text, photo, or video got sent all around the school and the internet. And finally, students should not respond to unknown numbers and should know that they can block people from contacting their phones. It may seem obvious to adults, but sometimes young children and teens need to be specifically taught these important points. In my own classroom, I plan to include these tips in my lesson on the first day of the new semester. I'm going to create a quiz for students to take on Google Forms about cell phone safety following the lesson, and students will have to repeat it until they earn a 100%. We cannot assume that our students understand these seemingly common sense tips without explaining them ourselves. Aside from the basics of cell phone safety, cyberbullying is an issue that must be addressed in our 21st century classrooms. I chose to review Preventing Cyberbullying Top 10 Tips for Educators because making online insults and/or threats has become a bit of a phenomenon as technology has drastically increased in recent years. Educators should take the appropriate steps to avoid the presence of cyberbullying before it occurs and becomes a problem in our classrooms. Teachers can help prevent cyberbullying by first assessing the current amount of cyberbullying in our schools by surveying students to get an idea of the extent of the issue. Educators must explain that bullying, including via the internet, is not an acceptable behavior. Even if the cyberbullying occurs at home, it can affect how safe students feel at school. Therefore, disciplinary action would be taken at school. We can also add to the prevention of cyberbullying by cultivating a positive learning environment and school climate. Furthermore, there needs to be specific rules for the use of devices in school, which include the forbidding of cyberbullying and online harassment. We should create a formal contract that addresses cyberbullying to be signed by students. We must teach social and emotional learning skills to help eliminate conflicts between students. We can use peer mentoring by having older students stress the importance of positive online behavior. And finally, we also need to educate the community on the realities of cyberbullying, including staff, students, and even parents. By addressing the issue of cyberbullying early on, students will be more hesitant to interact negatively online. In my class, I plan to use a Google form to collect data about the current state of cyberbullying at my school. I'm going to add some signs around my classroom about proper online behavior, discouraging cyberbullying. I will also design a specific lesson that explains the importance of positive online interactions and addresses the consequences that will be associated with cyberbullying actions. I think it would be helpful to give students mock cyberbullying situations and ask how they would respond. These types of discussions are likely to resonate with students, therefore preventing them from taking similar actions in the future. Moving on, although we need to do our best to prevent cyberbullying in the first place, we must also be prepared to react if it does occur among our students, which is why I also chose to review Responding to Cyberbullying, Top 10 Tips for Educators. If cyberbullying happens, teachers need to follow the appropriate steps. So we must first thoroughly investigate the incidents and provide appropriate consequences. Enlist support of a member of law enforcement, especially if there's a threat to safety of students or staff. Then develop a fair consequence that aligns with the harm done by the Cyberbully Act. Then we should contact cell phone providers if threats or explicit content were sent, as they often keep data on their servers for some time. We should direct parents to find an attorney for certain cyberbullying instances that occur away from school, and also work with parents to make students understand how serious and unacceptable cyberbullying can be. Educators should hold on to cyberbullying evidence in a file for future reference. And we should also contact and work with the internet platform where the cyberbullying took place, as they can also help with evidence. Then we can use informal response strategies for less serious offenses. For example, having students create and display anti-cyberbullying posters around the school. And finally, we must always remember that the goal is to put a stop to the bullying, which should always guide our actions. I will definitely be using these tips if I come across any type of online bullying in my classroom. I especially like the idea of students creating anti-cyberbullying posters to hang up. I may even have students make them as a preventative strategy after introducing my classroom technology rules. I hope you enjoyed my paper slides video on mobile safety. I plan to use these strategies in my own classroom and encourage you to do the same to help better the learning environment in our 21st century classrooms. Thanks for watching. The end.